What's up, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Cynispection, where we apparently did this new season just to talk about Stranger Things because we haven't talked about anything else yet. We took a week off randomly, right?
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm Gabe. That's John. John, I thought we wouldn't do this one. I was like, well, we'll just be like, whatever. We already talked about it, but there's a lot to talk about here. It seems.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. And the more that I think about it, the more I can nitpick it, which is the same with anything, right? But like with this, I have some major nitpicks, and I haven't brought them up to you yet because I wanted to do it live and get your reaction. Because I know as soon as you finish, you're like, I love it, like it's amazing. And I'm wondering if now that the news is worn off a little bit, are you like, okay, there are some issues with this?
I didn't want to tell you about my issue because I didn't want to because I did have some issues with it. Nothing major. Like this is gonna be almost like a nitpicking session, in some ways. So it's not really like something to like crap on. It's still like really great storytelling.
Really good.
Really engaging TV show. 2.5 hour episode. Like that's like Marvel movie length,
Yeah,
and
very, very long. Not that it needed to be, and we'll get to that later. But
the thing is, I was never bored by it, so I don't mind if it's long if I'm never bored. And for example, I feel like the ending to season 3. I don't know if you remember, but the ending to season 3, the epilogue, they're like at the buyer's house, and then they had like everybody leaving on like a U-Haul or something. Clearly a U-Haul with a product placement.
Yeah, whatever.
Right. Yeah. And then they had them back in the house for like a montage of them and that was kind of like, I was like, okay, pick one. Are they leaving? I know what they were trying to do, but it felt long and a bit boring. Here, the epilogue, it was just these people the character work in the show is so good that I was okay with it.
So yeah, I think the epilogue in this was long. I think that I'm just going to jump into a couple of my nitpicks. Russia makes no sense.
Spoilers.
I mean, this is not really a spoiler. We're gonna cover all of season 4, but specifically just volume 2 is what we're gonna focus on today, just so everybody knows. So if you want to see an entire review of season 4, we can talk about it later. But just for volume,
well, you can watch our first video and then this one.
Just go watch it. So I had mentioned before that I felt that season 4 of Stranger Things, volume 1, was like Fellowship of the Ring. It annoyed me a little bit because it was a movie, or an entire season in this case, of just nothing but plot setup. And then volume 2 didn't disappoint because it was very much it was very much the Two Towers, right? And then today I sent you a thing which is kind of hilarious, that the creators of the show said that season 5 will feel like Return of the King. So like I'm not unfounded in what I'm saying here, but the first part of the season, okay. The second part of the season, it was really good. There was a lot of awesome, actual, prosthetics and everything being used on Vecna. The Upside Down looked awesome. The practical effects were great. The character development, specifically with Eddie, like that was out of this world.
With everybody.
Yeah, with everybody. All right, well, we can talk about that a little bit.
Let's do storyline by storyline.
Yeah, okay. Well,
to be a bit more, because there's a lot going on. So there's 3 major storylines, right? There's the Hawkins, Freddy Krueger storyline.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the road trip. Oh, there's actually 4. Sorry. There's the Hawkins storyline. There's the road trip with Mike, Will, Jonathan, and Argyle.
Yep.
Then there's 11's like X-Men kind of like superhero story.
Superman,
and then there's Russia.
Superman 2. Yeah. Like he's finding finding her powers. She goes back to where it all started. She finds her powers. She's reinvigorated.
Yeah. She doesn't use a styrofoam S, remember in Superman 2 where he just like shoots it comes out of nowhere. God, we have to review that movie. I mean, have you ever tangent, but did you ever see the Richard Donner cut? of Superman
No.
2. It's actually way superior. Like, and it doesn't have that thing, and it ends with him like turning the Earth back on its axis. So the same ending as the first one,
Yeah.
because they shot the first two simultaneously, and then they shifted the ending from the second one to the first. Anyway, it's a better cut. It doesn't matter. So, and the fourth story is Russia. Okay, so let's start with the
Let's,
Hawkins
yeah, the
story,
Hawking.
which
So
was the driving force of the season, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I mean, Max was the runaway character, of course. I think of
Yeah.
season 4.
Well, and Eddie,
Well, and Eddie, Max and Eddie.
and and you know who like people are not talking about enough? I think this was my favorite Lucas season. Like, Lucas was great. He had an arc. He was the most reasonable guy out of everyone in Hawkins. He was
So I
just
think
like, yeah,
yeah, in the first part in volume 1, he had a huge like arc. I feel like he was, the prom king who gets pegged down a notch and then like tries to reclaim his status with
wait,
his
here are you
older
talking
friend.
about Steve? Are you talking about
Lucas.
Steve?
No,
Oh,
Lucas. Like,
oh,
think
because of
about
the
it, like, because in
basketball.
volume 1, yeah, basketball, and then like
Well, but what
he
was more
lost
interesting
kind of
about it,
everything with his
but,
friends.
but what was more interesting about it is that moment where he talks to Mike and Lucas, and he's like, "Look, I don't want to be a loser forever. I don't want
Yeah.
to be bullied. This is how I don't get bullied. Why are you judging me?" And I was like,
And then it
"Yeah,
turns out that the people that he are aligning himself with are the bullies. So like he ends up getting
yeah."
bullied no matter what.
He ends up getting and also he realizes like friendship is more important than,
Yeah.
which was a pretty good arc, but also really reasonable to be like, hey, I don't want to be bullied forever. Like, high school is rough, everybody that's gone to high school, which is most people, I guess, like, would know. So
Well, like
anyway, Lucas,
each of
yeah.
them are at different stages of growing up, right?
Right. So yeah, Mike and Lucas. Also, I found it weird in season 3 they were all about the girls, and Will was the only one who was about Dungeons and Dragons. And
Yeah.
then this one, they were about Dungeons and Dragons. And I was like, what is going on? I thought they were like growing out of it. And then they explain it. They're like, we're in high school, and we just didn't know what to do. And everybody's like, we're new in high school. What do I do now? Like, I'm
Yeah.
bullied. I don't have like the same thing that I used to have. Will is gone. Eleven's gone. So Mike and Dustin become Dungeons and Dragons guys, and Lucas tries to be the sports star.
The basketball player who rides the
Yeah.
bench until the last game and then
And then
has
wins.
a very
Yeah.
nice ladies win.
Right.
No, I agree. So like I mean Dustin is always figuring everything out in this scenario. Lucas has a good arc. Max has an amazing arc because she is the driving force of actually being able to capture Vecna, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, Steve is Steve.
Steve doesn't really have a big arc in this one, I think. Neither
Steve,
did Nancy and
Robin.
let's talk about that real
They
thing.
had their arc.
Nancy.
Nancy, Robin, and Steve all had their arc in volume 1 in like the first part.
Sort of, but I mean, so I feel like the Nancy, Jonathan, Steve conflict was set up.
Yeah.
But that is one thing that they left hanging. Like, they didn't close it out.
Yeah, quickly dismissed and left hanging for season 5.
Which was it was sloppy. Like, for their standards, I was surprised that happened, because I was like, okay, they're setting this up for something. I was like, I was like, maybe Steve is gonna die, and then Nancy's gonna be like,
I think that's
wanted
why
him.
they set it up, right? And like,
I don't think so. I'm not clear.
Well, they set up. If you go back and watch it again, they set up different sets of people each so that you could think one of them was going to die.
Oh, yeah, that is true. Yes, yeah.
So like with Nancy and Steve, he was professing his love, making you think that Steve might die or Nancy might die, but it was a resolved situation. With Lucas and Max, they had the little notepad scene that was like a resolved situation.
Possible goodbye. Yeah.
With Dustin and Eddie, that was an obvious, like, Eddie became the person that Dustin always knew he was, and then everybody else kind of figures out that Eddie's actually this really great guy, right?
Which is funny that, like, Eddie is the new member of Stranger Things group that is killed after one really great season. And I don't know why they keep doing that. Like, it's kind of funny, right? Like, they have, like, season 2 was Bob, season 3 was Alexei, the Russian guy, and now Eddie. And it's like, okay, I mean, I guess their deaths have been very effective and they're touching, and but why do they keep doing that every season? It's kind of funny.
I don't, but I get it. It drives the plot forward and makes you feel like they can never win. It's always, what is it? 2 steps forward, 1 step back. This is the whole season though, right? Like it moved the plot forward some, but you get to the very end of the season and it's not really moved forward, right? Like there's still the mind flare, which we found out is part of Vecna. They didn't kill him, a la Halloween or any other movie where he
That was
falls.
a Halloween shot. Yeah, that was
Yeah,
definitely a Halloween shot. Yeah.
and I mean that was great and all, but unneeded. I think. Um,
What do you mean that they didn't kill Vecna?
yeah, that they didn't kill Vecna.
If I had to guess, and this is only a guess, I think I told you about this already. I think they wanted Vecna to be like the lieutenant general of the Mind
Yeah.
Flayer, but they liked the actor playing Vecna so much, they were like, you know what, we got to keep him. He's actually
No,
the Mind Flayer.
I don't like that though. I think that
Why
like
not? I mean, he was great. He was
he's
great.
great. Yeah, he's great.
He played
But,
3
like,
characters: the likable,
Yeah.
orderly, the psychopath, and the monster, and they were all really good.
But I mean,
I think.
just because someone's really good doesn't mean that you have to drag out their plot line. Like
But I think
it would have been really
think
good. Like he would have been amazing in this not condensed season, right? Like really, this is 2 seasons if we're being honest. And
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. I think it was it was split in 2, but if they hadn't split it in 2, it would have still worked around the same. Like it just, I don't think it was 2 seasons. I think it felt really clear. It was the
no,
Vecna
it was
season.
coherently 1 season, but I mean, like in lengthwise, it was 2 seasons.
Oh, it was like 8. Yeah, it was. It was like a season of 24, like 24 hours. Yeah.
Part 1 is like over 10 hours, and then part 2 is 4 hours or something. So, I mean, we're talking about it's 2 full seasons. Let's be honest, like time. So you got a lot of on-screen time with him. You got to know the character. You had an entire arc. I don't think that you had to keep him around to make the show like valuable. I also don't.
But I think that they have done that before. Like Stranger Things is like somebody tweeted it out the other day. Like, is the clear example of we like this guy. Let's put him in more. Like we had him for like Steve Harrington was the bully, the rival in the first season, and then he was such a great performance that they brought him back, and then he just became everybody's favorite guy. They did the same with Murray. I feel like Murray wouldn't have been that big, and now he's like one of the main people. You know what I mean? Like they keep bringing back.
As I understand it, though, Vecna is just the vessel for the smoke stuff, right? Like,
well, the way I think he merged with the smoke stuff, right?
Oh, so they're officially like one, not like Will was.
Yeah, like Jesus and God or whatever. Yeah, I guess it's a bad analogy. Scratch that.
Yeah, I don't know what a good analogy. Anyway,
like Lord Voldemort and Professor Quirrell.
In Sorcerer's Stone. Yeah. I mean, so okay, let's finish out this. I didn't like that they didn't kill him, or that like we didn't really find out anything. Okay, he crawls away Halloween style. And then this is my biggest pet peeve. We don't know anything. Like this season, they did the most detailed, like, we're going to tell you every single little thing. And then it's just like, okay, cut to black. They're mystically outside of the Upside Down. Everything's okay with the world, except there's this giant, like, I don't know, crack in the world that they don't explain. And then the city people are pretty much ignoring it. Like Nancy's dad is sitting there just on the couch.
Well, but they're not ignoring it. Didn't you notice when they were driving in, like,
and everybody was leaving.
Like it was, and there was also the basketball court filled with refugees, or not refugees, whatever, people that lost their homes, displaced people. Yeah.
So I get that, but they don't explain. Like the dad is just like, oh, okay, and they're donating to like clothes for the local people or something. I mean, it doesn't make very much sense. Like,
well, I mean, but it was drawn out already. Like, it was drawn out already, and the disaster is like it is, of course, the meal before it's the starter before the entree. I get what you're saying, but I think it was not a mistake. It was their intention to do it that way, I think.
I find that like you don't know how they got out or anything. Like everything else in the season was so detailed. Why leave something like that out? Like, did they crawl out through the giant crevice that is now in the earth that like
I think, I
creatures,
mean,
you know?
and it'll probably take them a few episodes to even explain the next season when they do.
Yeah.
Which is funny because they just said they're starting writing the next
Yes.
season. Like, it's crazy. Anyway, 15 minutes. We have 4 stories to go.
Okay,
Let's
so
talk
now,
about Russia because that's the one you have some thoughts on.
yeah, my big thing with Russia is it's pointless. Completely and utterly pointless. Like there's no it does nothing for the story. It doesn't progress the plot forward any. You just go to Russia. Like it's
I agree.
almost like they gave it in the last season's epilogue, and they're like, "Oh shit, I guess we got to deliver on this. He's in Russia." Like that, there was no other reason for it. There was no portal to the Upside Down. There were demigorgons there for no reason, and they didn't explain how they got there or why they were there, or like they were experimenting, and like that's it, right?
I agree. It was my least favorite part. Not that it was bad. It was a different kind of show. We talked about it last time. It was like a comedy almost. It was like a, like a, not to the level of a Steve Martin comedy, but it was like an 80s comedy,
Yeah.
Like a Naked Gun kind of thing almost.
Yeah,
Well,
Naked
no,
Gun or In the Army Now or Good Morning Vietnam.
Yeah, sort of like
like
something like that. And then I agree, they couldn't tie it together. They tried to tie it together in the end. But I mean, this is overthinking it. But I was like, why is it nighttime in Indiana and California and Russia at the same time? Like I was just like, that seems very unlike, you know what I mean? Like it's a little thing, but
I don't think it needed to be in there. And like I'll just leave it at that. Like people might think that it was great, and I don't know who you are, but if you do, more power to you. But honestly, like all of that time that they spent in Russia could have been used like explaining other things that would have made the plot better, in my mind.
So Derpy says, "Hello, humans. Hello, fellow human." So yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Could have it was done as best as it could, but it's clear they were just like, I don't know what to do with this. Oh, in the end, I don't know. I guess they helped with distracting the
she goes to Alaska,
mind
to Russia, like. They killed the demigorgons, which I still don't understand. Like, I guess it's hive mind.
Yeah, I mean they've done that before. They did that in season 2. I mean it's fine, but again, it's just like the timing. The fact that the timing is just right when they haven't talked to each other. Yeah, they couldn't tie it up very well, and that's fine. I mean it's not perfect. It's few things are. All right, let's talk about 11 because that's another one I really want to talk about. The problem with 11 is the problem with all these like super powered character, the dilemma, which is when you give a character so much power, then how do you like get the like the problem that the Superman problem is like Superman can kill anybody. He can,
so
how do you make
have a villain that actually makes sense? Yeah.
Right. And how do you make it like interesting when it's like, and I feel like I just rewatched it and I love season 3. I love season 3. But a lot of season 3, since 11 was with a group, like a lot of it was, monster, 11 kills him. Yeah. Monster, 11, like it was like 3 or 4 times of that. Like, that's why in season 1, 11 didn't really know her powers. He wasn't talking, and that was easier because it's like she won't use her powers every time. And there's that big moment in the quarry where she saves Mike, and it's like, okay, this is how powerful she is. And then when she flips over the van,
when
they're in the bicycles,
when they're riding on the bikes, that was like I remember that scene very, very well. Yeah,
right. And then season 3, but then season 2, she was not with a group. And then season 3 was with a group, and everything was like, 11 arrived. We just saved everybody. 11, and then to the level that in the last battle with the monster, they had to remove her power, so it was engaging in a different way again. This season, they did the exact same thing. They were like, we don't know. Like, if 11 had been there with Vecna, there in Hawkins with Vecna, then she could have killed Vecna fairly quick.
She didn't have her powers, right?
Well, assuming she had her, that's another thing. Removing her powers is also like, what do we do with such a superpower individual?
I mean, how did you feel? And I'm going to say this, and don't get mad because I'm comparing it to something else, but how did you feel about the Luke Skywalkerism that they used in this? Very much Empire Strikes Back. Because,
what part? The tank?
What? No, so the part where she's getting her powers back is basically when Luke goes to Dagobah. And like the scientists that she's working with are basically Yoda, and they're trying to give her powers back. And he's like, no, 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 don't leave. Just like Yoda does.
Oh, yes. If you leave, you might. Yes. Yeah.
If
Okay.
you leave, you're
Yes,
going
I
to
did
destroy
notice
this.
that.
Blah, blah. Like they literally, I mean, it's almost word for word. Like
Yes.
here's Star Wars,
Yes.
kerplunk.
It was exactly the same. I thought the same. I was like, but you know what? It was slightly different because it was Papa saying it, and
Yeah.
Papa's a douche. Oh, by the way, there says Alexa, play "Running Up a Hill" like Kid Bush. That song has taken off, right?
Yeah,
Really.
it's gone nuts.
I'd never heard of Kate Bush or the song before this, but it's really, they're both good. Yeah, you're right. It is like it was a bit of that conflict, but then Papa was evil, so they made a twist. I liked it. I mean, again, I like the 11 stuff more when she was like the bullying in California and her dealing with I try to be normal, I just can't.
Yeah.
I like that more than she went to the institution, and it was a bit slow when they were like trying to like there's that episode where
power. I mean,
they have their powers, but then the massacre stuff was great.
They use it the same exact way in Star Wars. Like, let me explain this plot line while you're getting your powers back, right? Like, you find out it's the same thing. So,
yeah,
like,
and it was fine. Did you like it?
No, I like that part. I actually like. I found it hilarious that Empire Strikes Back came out in the 80s, and like this is set in the 80s, and like it kind of flows with how they borrow from things from the movies from the 80s all the time, right? We've talked about Halloween, Freddy Krueger, or Nightmare on Elm Street, Star Wars. So like it is all over the place. On like Back to the Future, of course. So, I mean, I think that 11 does pretty well here. I like that she's not all powerful and she doesn't just like kill Vecna without any trials or whatever. And it's not even her that actually does the damage to Vecna. She's just kind of like the distraction at that point. It's really like Nancy and Steve and Robin that kill Vecna,
which was good. I mean, yeah, it's. I mean, you have that struggle when you have so many storylines, but there was that battle in the desert in episode. I guess we're talking about most of the season, not just the two last episodes. In the next to last episode, that battle in the desert was one of the best moments in the series. Like that shot of her with the exploding helicopter.
Well, where she crushes the helicopter and it falls down. Yeah, that's really, really cool.
But there's a shot like from behind her, and it's like one continuous shot of the helicopter, like in all practical. It's just when they do stuff practical, it's just like
it makes a huge difference when they do stuff practical.
I mean, I don't know if you saw, but like the Duffer Brothers said, like that the last episode of this season had more special effects shots than the whole of season 3. Yeah, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake, this is gonna become a Marvel movie. Not that we don't like Marvel movies, we like Marvel movies, but it's a bit too much CGI, and this is better. But actually, the special effects never took the center stage. We talked about this last time. Yeah, it was still good. Did any of you have emotional damage watching? Not really. I mean, I liked Eddie. I was sad he died, but it felt predictable because again, I was like Eddie feels like the Bob and the Alexei this time.
Eddie dying was pretty predictable. They set that up well. Max getting her mind sucked away, that was pretty predictable.
I thought Max would die. Like I was like,
she did technically die, right? Like
she's gonna be fine. I mean, today I saw a comment from the Duffer Brothers, and they were like, this is not Game of Thrones. Like, we're not going to kill like 5 people per season. That's not what we do here. Like, and then I just like, I had like ding, and I was like, yeah, this is not that kind of show. Not every show is about like killing the characters. And you know what? That's fine. They could have killed, because this was a slasher, like a slasher season. Yeah. So they could have killed somebody because it was a slasher season. It would have been okay. But it's not that kind of show. Like, people think like people wanted to do a Deadpool, like who's gonna die?
It's just like any other 80s movie you watch, right? Like the party always ends up triumphant at the end, and that's just how it is. I mean, in this case, I think that Max has been like, her mind has been taken by Vecna, and like that's why when 11 went in, she didn't see anything there. So my guess is like season 5 will be them trying to get Max's mind back from Vecna. That's
Right.
just
Yeah.
my theory. But
At least a part of it, yeah.
yeah,
All right, let's talk about the last story before I run out of time, and that's California slash road trip slash Utah.
yeah,
Um, I will say I enjoyed that one a lot.
that was like pretty lighthearted in a season that was rather not. That was pretty lighthearted for a season that was based around slashers, and I think it was needed. But it also fit like the '80s motif quite well because that happens all the time. There's always a comic relief in any of these like horror movies or slasher movies.
I
Whether
didn't feel like it was the comic though. Well, I guess it was with the stoners. Yeah, you're right.
yeah, like it's a stoner road trip. Like that's what it really is.
Right, and the pizza stuff, and
And the
but the
pizza
Will
stuff.
stuff. Okay, so Will. Let's talk about Will for a minute because
Yeah.
you and I had our theories about Will,
Yeah.
and I think we were wrong. Like, but so was the
Yeah.
internet because everybody thought, like I said, it seemed like people thought that the painting was gonna something to do with his sexual orientation.
Yeah.
It wasn't that. I think the painting was more of how he values his friends.
Yeah.
Um, Felt a bit underwhelming.
The Will has not really been used very well in the last couple seasons, and I don't
I
know.
liked the last season. I liked the last season because I like that moment where he's like you had friends growing up in high school, and not everybody grows up at the same time. Like,
Yeah, I think though, like at this point, it's just like, okay, we get that he's not growing up. We get that he has PTSD. We get that he can feel the mind flare. But
what
like,
else you got?
what else? Like that's it.
I mean, yeah,
That's the only thing that he brings to the story.
he's a walking MacGuffin, and it's hard, and he's not the most interesting character. Like, I've never. Kudos to the actor. Nothing to do with the actor. The actor is great.
Yeah.
Every actor in this thing is great. The girl that plays Erica, we haven't talked about her, but she's so good. What's funny is like she says she's 11, but she's like now the actress was like 15, so she looks way older than 11.
I mean,
But
they all look old.
again, like we said before, 80s teenagers always looked way older than they are.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Will, I mean, I don't know if like his sexuality will play a bigger role in the next season. I don't think they should focus on that, but I also wish they won't make him a MacGuffin again. Like just I'm the one that's feeling the. It's just like, no, have him do something. Like we had a great. They are free to take our idea of him realizing that he has to die in order for everybody to win. I hope they do something like that.
That's the other kind of plot arrow that I had, and I just like harp for 1 minute. The mind flare had infected Will originally, and Will was the way to like get across the upside down.
That's season 2, yeah.
Yeah, but now we know that the mind flare is actually Vecna. So like it's Vecna just trying to get through, but why wouldn't he just do what he's doing now originally to be able to get through? It seems like going through a secondary host, which would be like a third host for the mind flare almost.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I'm sure they'll explain it. I'm sure they'll explain it, just not now. They didn't
I have
explain
a feeling
everything.
it's going to be like a one-line plot fix where they're like,
oh, for sure.
And it'll just be like a one-liner, and then it's over, and then we're supposed to be happy. So
yeah, no,
lightsaber just happens to go missing, and then that's a long story we'll talk about some other time. Then we know.
And look, overall, we liked the season. It was very enjoyable. Mm-hmm. Can't wait to the next one. Especially, I can't wait because I know it's the last, and we won't have to. Like, it won't have to go bad like most shows the last few seasons. It's just like, oh, it's just been going on for like 20 years. Like, it won't have that. It will just have a last season. It'll piss off the internet, I'm sure. Yeah. But because the internet is pissed off at everything. Today I saw that like Macy Gray made some like transphobic comments or something. I didn't read the whole article.
Macy Gray is still like
well, where do you know Macy Gray from? Because I was like, where do I know that name? She's in the first Spider-Man.
2001, are we talking about the singer Macy Gray?
Yeah. But she was in the first Spider-Man, remember?
Oh, yeah. She sat on the train, right?
No, she was singing in the first Spider-Man in the.
Oh, yeah, because she was a one-hit wonder.
Oh, was she? Okay. I was like, why? How do I know?
Yeah. She had one hit.
The internet was pissed off at Macy Gray today. I was like, who the hell is that? And I was like, oh, God, she was in Spider-Man. Anyway, just the internet gets upset sometimes. Anyway, John, we'll see you in like 30 seconds.
All right.
Bye. Thank you
Bye.
for listening to Cynispection. Like and subscribe.